A black student outside of Houston set to be removed from his high school over his hairstyle.
And Americans return to the U.S. from the war-torn country, Israel.
We're looking to the north. You see that cold front? That's headed in our direction. Going to make it very nice down here. I'll have your complete forecast.
And Cuero is undefeated, and a senior wideout could not be tamed in the victory. That's coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Karina Garcia. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise announced he's dropping out of the Speaker's race tonight after House Republicans failed to get behind him in the aftermath of Kevin McCarthy's historic ousting. The House Republicans will now have to find a path forward as the House remains paralyzed.
Wednesday, 42-year-old Larry Joe Nunez sentenced to 20 years in state prison. Nunez convicted of sexual assault for the May 2022 sexual assault of a Victoria woman. Nunez will also serve a 15-year prison sentence for manufacture and delivery of a controlled substance, which was committed by Nunez in October 2022.
A Victoria man sentenced to state prison Wednesday. 58-year-old George Guadalupe Morales found guilty of aggravated sexual assault of a child. He faces 15 years in prison. Today, 37-year-old Trenton Joseph Taylor of Victoria was sentenced to 4 years in state prison. Taylor was found guilty of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Taylor pointed a firearm at a Victoria woman while assaulting her last May.
Calhoun County Sheriff's deputies arrested 22-year-old Ivan Matu Wednesday night. He was arrested in the Port Alto Olivia area. Authorities tell us the suspect got into an altercation with deputies and paramedics. A child also assaulted during the altercation. Matu faces 5 charges. He's in the Calhoun County Jail in lieu of $150,000 bond. After less than a month in prison, an El Campo fentanyl dealer has appealed his life sentence and is asking for a new trial. In August, a Wharton County jury found 77-year-old Lawrence Harold Jr. guilty of delivery of a controlled substance. That's a first-degree felony. Wharton County District Attorney Dawn Allison told the El Campo Leader News it is not likely Harold will win an appeal.
DeWitt County Commissioners will end the county's burn ban on October 22nd. DeWitt County Judge Daryl Fowler told the Yoakum Herald-Times they have had 5 inches of rain in the county in the past 30 days. The burn ban was put into effect in DeWitt County July 24th.
Let's take a first look at your forecast with First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Pettis. Mac, you know there are a lot of high school football fans and bands and teams getting ready to hit the road tomorrow night. And the weather is going to be...
I got the answer for you. It's looking good for Friday night. It's going to be a little warm. But then on Saturday morning, we've got a little cool front that's coming through that's going to make it spectacular for the rest of the weekend. In fact, for the observation of the eclipse, couldn't ask for nicer weather. We'll have all those weather details coming up in just a moment. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. The Israeli military has pulverized the Gaza Strip with airstrikes, and they're now prepared for a ground invasion. On Thursday, they said their siege on the territory would remain in place until Hamas militants freed the 150 hostages taken during last weekend's attack. International aid groups have warned of a worsening humanitarian crisis. Israel has halted deliveries of food, fuel, medicine, and electricity to Gaza and prevented entry of supplies from Egypt. The war has claimed at least 2,700 lives on both sides. Due to the war in Israel, we asked the Victoria Police Department if it is adding extra security to Temple B'nai Israel in downtown Victoria. In a statement, Chief Chuck Young said, quote, "We will continue to monitor the situation and make adjustments locally as needed," unquote. These attacks prompted a Dallas resolution condemning the strikes on Israel by Hamas. But the meeting grew emotional at City Hall last night. Palestinians protested the city council vote, saying the resolution should also denounce the mistreatment they claim in Gaza. The mayor said it was necessary for Dallas to make this statement, and a unanimous city council vote agreed. But Palestinian residents crowded the council chamber to speak against it. The mayor said the resolution is not against Palestinian people. It rather condemns the leadership group Hamas, calls for peace and the return of hostages.
We're heartbroken, and we need the support and friendship of our community here in Dallas. We cannot support a piece of legislation that doesn't recognize the tremendous suffering and devastation that Israel has done against the Gazans.
Public speakers supporting the resolution were outnumbered by the opponents, but they were also very passionate. The city leaders supporting the resolution said it was not to settle the many years of dispute, only to send a message about recent events.
And Wednesday night, after that city council vote, the Dallas skyline turned blue in a show of support for Israel. It's the latest instance in which downtown Dallas skyscrapers, including the Bank of America Plaza, the Omni Hotel, and Reunion Tower, have altered their LED lights to show support for a cause. Now, there were lots of tears today as Massachusetts residents reunited with family members returning from Israel at Boston's Logan International Airport.
When I see them, I will feel relieved.
Inside Logan Airport, Jane checked her phone for updates, waiting for her son and his family to arrive on a flight from Tel Aviv.
I felt better when they were in the airport, better when they were on the plane, and then when I see them, I'll feel much better.
Passengers started streaming into Terminal E with stories about what they've been through.
We were in the bomb shelter several times.
And finally, Jane saw her daughter-in-law, 2 grandchildren whose faces we've blurred for their privacy, and her son. They had been in northern Israel visiting family.
With everything right now just being so uneasy and uncertain and not really know what's going to happen next, that we just wanted to get out.
Phil took this photo inside Tel Aviv's airport.
The airport was pretty chaotic for sure, a lot of delays, a lot of cancellations obviously. Thankfully El Al, as always, kind of standing strong and continuing all their flights, so they did an incredible job.
Other passengers on the El Al flight, an Israeli airline, shared similar stories, difficulty securing tickets in a packed airport.
It was nearly impossible.
There's people kind of sleeping in the airport over there, so kind of hectic, but El Al kind of stayed without their flight, so we flew with them.
They are worried about what happens next in Israel, but grateful to be back in the U.S.
And this is home for us, so we're happy to be back.
The Biden administration is arranging charter flights for American citizens and their families looking to leave Israel. Those flights would begin operating tomorrow.
In North Texas, Forest Hill police identified a person of interest in the case involving a cafeteria worker who was gunned down Wednesday in a Forest Hill elementary school parking lot. Authorities told KXAS a woman who worked at David K. Sellers Elementary School was talking with a person in a vehicle in the back parking lot when she was shot several times. Authorities said they are getting closer to filing an arrest warrant, and they added the woman who was murdered personally knew her killer.
After installing the buoys in the Rio Grande, Governor Greg Abbott now putting barriers along the Texas border with New Mexico. The governor says migrants are looking to bypass physical barriers in Texas and using New Mexico to gain entry into the state. The Corpus Christi Caller-Times reports Texas National Guard troops have placed wire along the Rio Grande by Mount Cristo Rey in New Mexico and Texas. That's where the river bends north from its border with Mexico to form the Texas-Mexico border in New Mexico. A black high school student in Texas set to be removed from his high school because of his hairstyle. Daryl George already served more than a month of in-school suspension over his dreadlocks, but last week he was told he will be moved from Barbers Hill High School outside of the Houston area to a disciplinary alternative education program. The district prohibits male students from having long hair, but George's mother and the family's attorney deny the teenager's hairstyle violates the dress code. The family filed a lawsuit against the state governor and attorney general for failing to enforce the Crown Act, which is a new state law banning racial discrimination on hairstyles.
Here's your viewer poll tonight. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote. Here's the question. Do you think removing a student from school over their hairstyle is a fitting punishment? Yes or no? Let's look at the numbers. 29% say yes and 71% say no. That is an 11-point difference, more for the yes than it was at 6 o'clock. And they can still keep voting. Thank you for voting, and we want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part.
Now, we brought you this story Monday night where two balloon pilots from Poland were competing in a long-distance race when their balloon crashed in Kaufman County, Texas. Israel Alfaro Lopez, a high school teacher, was near the site where the balloon went down during the Gordon Bennett Cup balloon race. The gas balloon struck a high-voltage power line before falling to the ground and bursting into flames. When Lopez arrived at the scene, he pulled the second pilot to safety just seconds before the balloon exploded.
Trying to look inside the basket, the second pilot was like on the bottom of the basket, let's say. And so I reach in there and I start pulling him out. We didn't know, or we didn't realize at the moment that his legs were broken.
Lopez says he was able to visit both pilots at Parkland Hospital as they continue their recovery.
The Shiner Police Department has a new interim police chief, Wayne Denson, sworn in this morning. Chief Denson, a former Lavaca County Precinct 3 Justice of the Peace, and was also a Shiner police officer from 1984 to 1989. Denson succeeds Kevin Kelso, who resigned as Shiner Police Chief last week after nearly 2 years on the job. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Then you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10. The New York Police Department investigating two anti-Palestinian assaults, possibly inspired by the Israel-Hamas conflict.
Also ahead, a prison in Mississippi is giving inmates the opportunity to produce a monthly newscast. Crimes Unit is investigating anti-Palestinian assaults that may have been inspired by the war between Israel and Hamas. Police say one incident involved suspects in 3 cars waving Israeli flags and yelling anti-Palestinian statements at 3 men who were walking. The group in the vehicles exited the cars and attacked one of the 3 men. The victims refused medical attention but are expected to be okay. Hours later, a man with a Palestinian flag was attacked by a man wearing traditional Jewish garmish.
And I'm very surprised because this is a pretty quiet neighborhood, and people should take what's going on over there, as this is not necessary to do here. It's just going to increase more violence. So this has been going on for many years over there. I just hope that it doesn't escalate more over here in my home, and I hope everything calms down over there.
Police are looking for the suspects in both cases.
Pro-Palestinian protests taking place in cities and college campuses all across the country in the wake of the Israel-Hamas conflict. A call to action has prompted students to stand in support of Palestine. The University of Louisville and Kentucky among those holding protests in support of the Palestinian cause with a National Day of Resistance. The National Day of Resistance comes after a controversial letter was signed by many students at Harvard blaming Israel for the violence.
Now, it's no secret gun violence is a major issue in the United States.
But not every community in the U.S. is affected equally.
In a recent study led by Columbia University and Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, researchers looked at death certificates in all U.S. counties and separated gun deaths into homicides and suicides. Between 2001 and 2010, the study found the most rural counties had 25% higher overall death rates from guns than the most urban counties. The difference was even higher between 2011 and 2020 at 37% higher gun deaths in the most rural areas. Major cities were more likely to have deaths due to homicide, whereas small towns were more likely to have deaths due to suicide. Researchers also accounted for age, income, race, poverty, education, and state gun laws in their analysis. About 124 people died from gun violence each day in 2020 to total over 45,000 lives lost in the U.S. alone. If you are experiencing suicidal, substance use, or mental health crises, please call or text 988. Trained crisis counselors are available for free 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. With this Medical Minute, I'm Justin Finch, ABC News.
The U.S. Border Patrol's Grand Forks sector talked about border security awareness in anticipation of winter. The goal was to reduce the likelihood of border deaths and injuries along the U.S. and Canadian border. Border agents displayed rescue equipment and talked about the dangerous conditions migrants face while attempting to cross the border illegally and the challenges the agents face.
A prison in Mississippi giving inmates the opportunity to create an in-house news show while learning new skills. The Marion County Regional Correctional Facility started a video magazine to bring the latest news and information to fellow inmates, and the inmates get to run the show. The Marion Voice is a monthly newscast that brings information about programs, classes, and other news to the hundreds of inmates at the facility. 2 inmates are the anchors, while another produces and edits the shows.
Inmates aren't just people that have done wrong and have no value. You know, we have value and we have abilities. And to be able to do that and use those talents and to help us prepare for when we go back home to keep those talents fresh is amazing.
The talented trio record their show in this studio, which is a kitchen storage room, and they work with equipment paid for through an inmate welfare fund. The program airs on video monitors throughout the facility, and it's also posted on the facility's Facebook page.
Pretty amazing. You know, we have a kitchen here too. Good evening, everyone. It's 72 degrees right about now. It's very nice. We got up to the mid 80s today, got up to 85, which is actually where we're supposed to be this time of year. But tomorrow, even though it's going to be warmer, Friday for football, Saturday is going to be cooler and absolutely beautiful. We'll be talking about your weekend forecast after this. Welcome back, everybody. I mean, we did have sunshine today, a few little clouds out there, but it turned out fairly nice for us. Now, all that rain that was in our area, you know, that dreary stuff that was over us, well, it moved east and it became a huge problem for Florida. I don't know if you heard about it. They had a couple tornadoes around the Tampa area. They've had about 4 to 6 inches of rain, had all kinds of flooding problems. Fortunately, we didn't get that kind of stuff. We need the rain, but we didn't need the problems. Now, let's look at the next 72 hours here. We're going to see a cloud deck coming in from the Gulf in the morning hours. But then in the afternoon, which is Friday afternoon, we're going to see the frontal system start to move down into the state. Now, behind this is a fairly gusty westerly wind, northwesterly wind, which is bringing in dry air into our region. And when it passes through here on Saturday morning, I really don't think we're going to get much in terms of precipitation, but you will feel that north wind blowing on Saturday morning, and we'll have a beautiful couple of days. Why? Low humidities makes it cool at night, down into the 50s. Afternoons will be in the upper 70s. Now, it'll be a breezy day and probably 25, 30 miles an hour, but all things considered, it's going to be very October-like. There may be some rain activity down along the Rio Grande, but none of that's moving toward our area. What we're going to get, of course, is on Saturday, the big solar eclipse. Now, what's happening is that the sun is always in the same place. We go around the sun, and then the moon goes around us. Well, on this particular occasion, the moon is going to be between us and the sun, so this shadow area is where we're going to be standing. So we are going to have the opportunity to see this, what's called an annular eclipse, because we're going to be able to see the edges of the sun around it, and you can see some of the big solar jets that come out of it and all that. Now, problem is, can't look at it directly. A lot of people are getting these glasses. Some people are getting welder's filters, welder's glasses. It's got to be number 13. And so we are building you a very cheap contraption, NASA approved, and we're going to show you to you at the end of the show on how you can build your own and be able to see the solar eclipse as it passes overhead. It's a very unique opportunity. I mean, it doesn't amount to a whole lot of anything. It's really kind of an optical illusion, but that it happens, that we're under it, is pretty specific. There's a big winter storm rolling through the plains. It's coming out of the Rockies, now through the plains, is having that frontal system push out ahead of it. Now, that's the one that's going to bring us the very nice weather for the next couple of days. In fact, after Saturday, you're going to go, wow, it really feels like October. Clear skies, dry northwest winds will continue for several days, making it very comfortable. 75 tomorrow morning in Port Lavaca, getting up to 89. That's the warm day. Partly cloudy skies, but no, I don't think there's any rain. And for Friday night football, it'll just be warm. It won't be exactly cold. Looking at a 91 high in Cuero. Now, when does the front get through? Looks like about midnight. So by Saturday, you'll feel breezy and cooler conditions. Look at that, high temperatures in the upper 70s, low temperatures down into the 50s. Gonna be very nice for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. That's your 7-day forecast. Want to remind you, we've got a QR code. Scan that with your phone and put Crossroads Today on your cell phone. Now here's Gino with sports.
Thanks, Mac. The Texas Rangers and Houston Astros series starts this weekend. We'll have the preview in sports. At a crossroads, the Cuero Gobblers are undefeated and ranked number 4 in the state. A senior on the team has stepped up this season to hopefully take the Gobblers back to the promised land. 17-year-old wideout Dalen Gibbs was on the team last season when Cuero fell to Wimberley in the state semifinals, but believes this team has what it takes to win it all this season.
Our culture, what we have, not only on the field but around us, and we have a lot of threats. Our O-line, defense, we have some very talented people. So
obviously you too.
Yes, sir.
The 5'8" senior wants to be a leader on the field and in the classroom, but not only to his teammates, but to his younger brother and sisters as well. That's why he tries to keep an A average in all of his classes. Gibbs said he might be small, but it works to his advantage.
It's helped me a lot. So not me, like the linemen and stuff, they can't see me, so it's been helping, and it helps me a lot, and I'm quick, so that helps even more. There's some doubts because I'm short, but my teammates believe in me, the fans believe in me, so I just give them what they want to see.
Number 9 on the field can run a 4.6 40-yard dash time and can use that speed in and outside the tackles. Gibbs said he was shocked when he heard his total yards that he had for the game against the Giddings Buffaloes, but knows he couldn't have done it alone.
It was a cool experience. I knew my quarterback was going to get it to me. He trusted me, so I did what I did.
Gibbs and the Gobblers are 6-0, ranked number 4 in the state, and looking to continue dominating throughout the year. In the game against the Giddings Buffaloes, Gibby caught for 284 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also rushed for 40 yards and 1 touchdown, which comes to a total of 324 all-purpose yards with 3 TDs, which is the reason why Cuero wide receiver Dalen Gibbs is the athlete of the week. For the first time ever, the Houston Astros and Texas Rangers are meeting in the postseason for a playoff version of the Silver Boot Series. These two teams have played a total of 266 times, and the series is a lot closer than you may think. The Rangers are leading the Astros by just 2 games all time, 134 to 132. Now, I said this was a 135-year rivalry. I was incorrect. I meant to say that 135 years ago was the first time that the Texas League began. This is the biggest series between the two ever teams, and these two teams have had their series of run-ins, but the Astros have been more dominant, making it to the ALCS for the 7th straight season, while the Rangers are back for the first time in over a decade since 2011. They say everything is bigger in Texas, and this rivalry is sure to grow to the size of Texas when it's all said and done. The 7-game series starts Sunday at 7:15 at Minute Maid Park. And lastly, in honor of Don, the Houston Cougars were in a heck of a game tonight. It looked like it was going to be over with time ticking. The West Virginia team goes in for the score with only 12 seconds left. That was a 4th and 10, by the way. Coach not looking too happy there. But with one of the wildest plays, Green drops back, rolls to his left, and chunks it up, and it's caught up none other than by Stephon Johnson for the score as time expires. The Houston Cougars go on to win 41-39, their first Big 12 victory ever for the 49-yard touchdown. Wow, Don, what do you say about that, huh?
Moment.
We had them all the way. We really did. Yeah, that is just awesome. That is, I think, the play of the year, wouldn't you say, Gino, in all of college football?
Yeah, pretty close for now. We still got some football to go, but who knows? It may be a contender.
So far.
All righty. Well, thank you guys, and stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10, we'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, neighbors in Iowa help a widow harvest her corn crops.
A widow in Iowa getting help harvesting her corn crop after losing her husband in August. 13 combines, 20 trucks, and 70 volunteers come together to turn the corn from the field and transfer the load to trucks. The harvest usually takes about 2 weeks, but this was all done in 1 day. She says it meant a lot that people showed up to help her family when they could have been helping their own, an effort she appreciates. The North Carolina State Fair officially opened. The 2023 State Fair runs October 12th through the 22nd at the State Fairgrounds in Raleigh. This year's highlights will include 54 new food items, as well as several new rides and entertainment. Organizers say there is something for everyone at the fair, and even Deputy Fife really likes it. Now, Mac is ready to show us how to turn a regular cereal box into something NASA is envious of.
Well, NASA approves this, so I want you to know that. You need a cereal box that's empty, okay? You need a piece of
that
white
makes it easier.
Yeah, because if the cereal's in there, it's kind of a problem.
You're right,
You can't see anything.
That'd
So
be
you
tough.
put the white paper down at the bottom of it, you close it up, and you put aluminum foil on either side like this. One side has a pinhole, a very tiny little pinhole. The other one has a little bit bigger so you can see. And so, if we can go to the wide shot now, the sun will be behind your back. It'll come through here and focus on the bottom of the box, and you can see it like that on the bottom of the box, and you don't have to look at the sun, which is why NASA approves of this message. So for Saturday morning eclipse at about 11 a.m., this is one cheap way of doing it, and it's authorized and approved by NASA. There's your forecast, folks. We've got a warm day tomorrow, a beautiful weekend coming in. Breezy and cooler by Saturday morning as the north wind kicks in. High temperatures in the upper 70s. Low temperatures at night in the 50s. I'm going to have to put some socks on there by Monday morning because my feet get cold. So the only other time that we have any other rain issues is not till 7 days from now. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you're going to say, wow, it feels like fall. It will feel like October.
Alrighty, thank you, Mac. Friday, October 13th is the U.S. Navy's birthday. It was on that date in 1775 that the Continental Congress green-lighted the first U.S. naval force, making the day the Navy's 248th birthday. NationalDayCalendar.com says the Continental Navy had just 2 ships and a crew of 80 men at the time. Today, it has more than 340,000 active duty personnel and upwards of 71,000 people on reserves.
It's a mighty Navy for a mighty military that the U.S. has. And the Navy, like you say, has grown so much to have all of those planes in the air. It's really just amazing.
Who was the first admiral? I'm thinking Admiral Farragut, no?
Or Admiral TV, I'm not sure which. That goes way back.
Admiral TV.
Admiral
yes.
TV, yeah. But I mean, the Navy, the Army, Air Force, and we thank everyone who has ever served in any of the armed forces, and also the ones who do now.
That's right. Well, thank you for joining us for 25 News Now at 10.
Join Carolina Astroin, meteorologist Parker Cox. 25 News Now Sunrise starting at 5 a.m. Have a good night, everybody.